You're listening to KJ and Dondero on Boston Sports Original, WEEI.
You're outscored KD and Kyrie combined tonight, and we're locking down KD a lot of the night. Do you feel like you're ascending to be one of the best players in the NBA, like you've been talking about wanting to do for a while?
Honestly, that's not something I'm thinking about. I'm certain that, that's what Twitter and, TV will say, but, myself and all the guys in the locker room, we just worried about, one game at a time and winning. Myself, I'm not trying to make it a one-on-one thing or a matchup thing. For me, just trying to go out there and play as hard as I possibly can, give it everything I got on both ends and, do whatever I can to, ensure that we get a win on any given night. And everybody on our team is doing that, sacrificing, competing, being on the same page. So, not necessarily focus on, individual matchups and things like that. As long as we win, that's all that, we care about.
KJ and Dondero, WEEI, the number 617-779-7937, text line 37937. Good Sunday morning to you. Get in on the conversation on that 109-103 win in Brooklyn to take a 3-game lead. That's Jason Tatum talking about, look, the All-NBA elite status is not on his mind. And, Mark, I go back to the J.J. Redick podcast.
Liar.
No.
Liar.
So I think these guys, I give them credit. They listen to the stuff that could potentially be critically good for them, and they're learning how to kind of weed out the crap that's going to be bad for them. So if you remember the J.J. Redick podcast that was released, the audio where he was kind of like, I 27, 7, and 7, and how, I missed out on $30 million. And I laid into Jason's ass on that. I was like, look, shame on Jason Tatum for crying about the same Jason Tatum. But in that song, I said, look, can't nobody stop you when you go to the rack. You get in Embiid's chest, you knock out Giannis, you're all NBA, your $30 million is set. And I said also, stay away from social media bees because they'll swarm like honey. And look what we've got now. We've got a guy who's outperforming Durant and who hasn't having to say a whole lot about it.
So,
what? What's that?
No, I was just going to say, I don't believe him. I think he does
Why
think about.
Wouldn't you?
I think he does think about wanting to be the best and be up there with the best. And guess what?
Mark, that's like getting on a kid talking about their Christmas list in July. Come on. You, of course, that's going to be the back of your mind, but you're not thinking, hey, I got to win this showdown so that way I can get my accolades. He knows that everything comes down to beating Giannis. In order to be the man, you have to beat the man.
Yeah.
And everything is really going to come down to beating Giannis.
Well, no. I don't think he's worried about accolades. I think he just wants to be viewed as the best. That's all. He's not saying that publicly, which I appreciate. I think he said exactly what he should have said, but I don't believe his words. I think he wants to be the best. I think he views this series as a measuring stick, and I think he wants to prove that this is his time and he's about to take over the league. So I do appreciate what he said, but I don't believe him, and I think his mentality is correct.
Yeah, I think with the Celtics was what's been going on over the last couple of years. It's a team. It was a team in name only. It was a Celtics team that had to show up, and then I think what was the Memphis game that they chose to show that versus the Celtics early on in the season. And I said, that's a real knock because Network almost never dumps out of a Celtics game minus the Rick Fox years and stuff like that. But again, this is a team that, okay, who is the leader? This is what they look for. Who's the leader? Who's kind of the solidifier of it? And those things were starting to form. So like Marcus Smart being able to take a backseat and almost kind of being the conductor, but knows that there's a star. It's like, I don't know if you follow like local bands, right? Like when a local band finally pops, local people have known them for like 4 or 5 of their EPs, and then they finally get the major release. And then later down the road, people are like, they kind of sold out to commercialism and stuff like that. Well, this is what the team needs. It needs a form of commercialism, and Jason Tatum is there. I'll be the first to tell you, this is not a commercial or an ad. My wife loves his flaming barbecue chips. Jason Tatum, she's like, that's got to be it. And last night, the boy was hot. She's like, it's the chips. It's the chips. So you now have a bona fide star. And I think the accolades are going to come, but the Celtics need to be in the conversation of saying, hey, look who's coming out of the East once again.
Myself
Go ahead and roll
bacon.
Yeah, exactly. Roll that beautiful B-roll, as they say, black and white, color, VHS style, 2008 in DVD form. Like the Celtics are a team that virtually, in microfiche, they have championships. And so it's important for this team to be able to have that identity moving forward in these playoffs.
I'll say this as well. I think that the Celtics are doing their part to put the dagger in this whole big three superstars teaming up and doing this in L.A. and these markets. When you combine with what happened to the Lakers this year and the disaster that became, now if the Nets, the Brooklyn Nets, Kyrie, obviously the whole Harden thing, Simmons coming here, they can't play, won't play, Harden leaves, Durant's a mess. If they end up getting swept, and then you look at some of the other teams around the NBA, the Bucks, the Suns, weren't built through big three coming together type stuff. I think this could be the end of the big three era, if you will, as we know it. And the Celtics, which if they have a hand in ending it, hey, guess what? That's good for the Celtics because they're never, I know they kind of started it in a way, but this generation of the big three era, they're not really benefiting from it. They're not getting these stars to come to Boston. So if it ends, I think that's a good thing for the Celtics long term. You end that, you make teams go back into the draft and build it that way like the Celtics did, and you kind of turn off the league to having these superstars get together in LA in these places because, hey, how'd it go in Brooklyn? How did it go down the stretch with the Lakers? Disaster. So that might end this, and that would be good for Boston.
KJ and Dondero on WEEI 617-779-7937. The text line's 37937. Still to come in about 15 minutes. What happened at Yankee Stadium? Yeah, stay classy, Bronx. But speaking of what's going on in New York, Kevin Durant. Yeah, how's this series going for you?
Kevin, what stands out as most frustrating, disappointing, whatever word you want to use in terms of how this series has played out to this point?
Losing. I'm just not making the right decisions. It's a lot of but overall we're just losing.
When he said that, that was just beeped out. It's like this family dynamic when you just, how's the family doing? It's a lot of, that's what he's really kind of, the curtain is unveiling. And I think when James Harden left, people asked, well, who got the better of the deal? Did the Nets get the better deal? And the 76ers was like, duh, 76ers got a guy who can play right now. So when you see Ben Simmons doing the left-handed drills and sliders, and he doesn't, Ben Simmons doesn't even have an issued jersey number yet. He doesn't. This is how in disarray they are. Kyrie, obviously, with the whole part-time thing. And here's where I have more respect now for Kevin Durant, because I think Kevin Durant is the one that stays. I think they try to move Kyrie in the offseason. Is that Kevin Durant came out and said, hey, because of my injuries, this is where this team is. I'm like, no, there's the guy over there who plays like once every 4 days. Maybe he could be helping out while you're nursing an injury after coming back from a major injury. Like literally Kevin Durant and your guy Klay Thompson have pretty much had similar injuries, right? And it took Klay Thompson almost 1,000 days to come back. And Kevin Durant pretty much had to rush himself back because this was the everything. This was the big two that they were building and was looking to get the third. James Harden came straight off the buffet line out of Houston, didn't want to be there. Now look what the 76ers are doing. So I take my hat off to Kevin Durant. And yeah, you know what? We know that Kyrie can be a problem. And it seemed like Kyrie's fight ended after everything that happened in game one. And nobody feels bad for that. But here's Durant, who had to go to bat for Bruce Brown's comments, who pretty much has had to stick up for Kyrie since everything Kyrie has happened. And now the guy's just tired. The team is in shambles. I think it's over.
Well, it's over. It was over after game two. But look, do you know why athletes lift weights? Okay, in part, they want to get stronger. They want to be able to
for the girls
physically dominate. No, that's why normal people lift weights. But athletes do it in part to prevent injury. Okay, and this is why I didn't love. This is why part of the reason why I didn't love the Nets in this series and Kyrie and Durant specifically is because they are not big men. They are not big, bulky. Even you look at the Celtics. Okay,
They're finesse.
They're finesse, and that is not to me, the NBA playoffs. Now, what do I know? I didn't play in the league, but to me, the NBA playoffs is about
you have
physicality.
eyes.
It's about ruggedness. It's about doing those types of things and being able to take a beating. The story, your boy Michael Jordan, he had to lift all those weights in order to get over the Pistons. Now, this is a different league, but he had to do all those things. Look at the other guys that have had success over the years: LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, bigger bodies. Giannis, not afraid to get into the lane. He's a thicker guy. And then you look at the Celtics in this specific matchup. Tatum has worked on getting bigger and lifting the weights, and he's just a bigger body than Durant and Irving. Jaylen Brown is bigger. Marcus Smart is thick. Grant Williams is thick. Al Horford is thick. Even Peyton Pritchard is thick. He's not some twig. They have better bodies that can hold up through a grueling NBA playoff series. I think that. And when you have Irving that can, he takes some shots. He's an artist with the ball. Fine.
Right, it's great. You've got a paintbrush in your hand if we're bricklaying.
Those types of players do not create the culture that win in the NBA playoffs. Even when Durant went to Golden State, they had all that talent, so that helped, obviously. But they also had Draymond Green, and he's the one that sort of feeds that culture that allows for playoff wins. I think that's a big part of it. The Celtics have multiple guys that can do that, Tatum included, and he's the best player, and that's the best part now. He's the best player. The best player sets the tone for the culture, and he's doing it not just as an offensive killer and willing to score down the stretch and take over a game if he has to. He's not afraid of the moments, but he's shutting Kevin Durant down, arguably the best scorer of all time, and he's shutting him down. Oh, it's just awesome.
Yeah, I said at the beginning of the series, all the Celtics had to do was be physical. Even get some of these guys on the bench to start figuring out which hand they want to put up in the air when the foul gets called, left or right. Whatever one goes up quicker, ref believes you. And when they showed the highlights after game 2, it was just almost like a work of art. It's like the finesse part, but from the grit side of basketball. Like every time Durant was kind of touching some portion of the paint, body hit him. And that's what I said. So come the fourth quarter, Durant's not going to have the desire to defend Jason Tatum or probably get, on a switch on Brown. And you saw that last night towards the end of the game where there's a turnover on Durant, and it's like he's not going to chase Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum, he could have run out of Brooklyn and into New Jersey and dunked that ball, and nobody was going to be within 50 feet of him.
Yeah, and last night Mike Breen saying, with all the Celtics highlights, the Nets, they're hanging around. They're down 6. It's like, dude, that's called the Celtics controlling the game.
Right.
Yeah, so what? What do you think? They're going to be up 23 the whole game? Yeah, it fluctuates. There's ebbs and flows. But ultimately, the Celtics, they really never relinquished the lead. They were
Sam
in control.
Hauser, get in there.
They were in control the whole time. Yeah, the Nets, they cut it to 6 every now and then. Like at the end of the third quarter. I think it was the end of the third quarter. When, they cut it to 6. Here comes Blake Griffin, his big heroic entrance into the game. And then it's... They went on a little run, and then, boom, Marcus Smart jumper. It's effectively dominated, and that was that. This team is sending a message to the league. Good luck the rest of this year. Good luck the next 5 years in the NBA. This team is going to dominate for stretches, and we'll see if they can win a championship, and if it's multiple. I'm just high right now.
Yeah, you do sound it. I'm totally kidding. 617-779-7937. Text line 37937. It's KJ and Dondero. Still to come, the heartbreak with the Red Sox last night in Tampa. But Mark just mentioned Blake Griffin. Here he is with some pretty interesting words about this team last night.
Are you confident that enough adjustments can be made by Monday?
Yeah, I think, tomorrow when we come in, we'll talk about it, see what the coaching staff has for us. And the great thing about this team, LaMarcus, Kevin, Kai, Goran, these guys have been Patty. These guys have seen, a lot of playoff games. I've seen some. So we collectively have some knowledge as well. So, see what the coaches have for us and go through it. And like I said, bring a certain amount of intensity the next couple of days, and also have the right spirit the next couple of days, I think is important for us. I don't know that our spirit was right tonight.
Whoa! I don't know if our spirit was. Who's good with the spirits? The sage guy, smoking sage. Yeah. But did you hear what he was saying? He's pretty much calling out like LaMarcus Aldridge's name as well. Like, hey, look, there are guys on the bench who can at least give you some effort, but because of some type of super ego thing going on, for those who are in the psychology realm will know that everybody who does something good has an ego, and that's not a bad thing. It's the super ego. Is that the problem? This is a super ego team. And Blake Griffin just pretty much pointed out saying, hey, look, are we going to do shirts and skins tomorrow to figure out like who deserves? You remember when you did this back in high school basketball? If you played, you played shirts and skins to see if one of the shirts needs to be a skin suddenly. It's interesting. And when he said spirits, here's Kyrie's response to what Blake Griffin said.
Playoff basketball is usually, a game of runs back and forth. But I mean, after they made their run in the second quarter, you guys really couldn't have an answer to even tie it from that point. Mm-hmm. When Blake was in here, he was talking about he thought the spirit was not where it needed to be today. Do you agree with that assessment? And if so, why do you think that would be?
Well, I respect Blake's opinion and I honor it. I'm sure, just for these last few games, he felt like he could make a bigger impact on our team. And, he should feel that way. And, what we saw tonight was just a glimpse of probably what he was capable of doing. And, I would love to see more of it. But in terms of our spirit, I think being in what we call the trenches or being in a series like this with guys that, we're all just trying to gel, and usually you're gelling around the right time, and that team in the other locker room is gelling at the right time. They've been gelling since Christmas. So for us, we're just in a new experience as a group, and we just got to respect that and just bring everything we can to this next game and just do one possession at a time. I don't want to be too cliche, but I don't have a lot of answers for how you make up time, from October until now when, usually teams would be gelling and things would be feeling good. You could put it on me in terms of playing better, controlling the game better, controlling our possessions, being more in a stance, not turning the ball over as much. I had 5 fouls tonight. So you could put it on me more of just doing more. And holding the guys accountable, same way I'm held accountable.
Yeah, listen, Blake Griffin, first of all, the problem is you put a team like this together, it's predicated on the 2 stars. I mean, that's why everyone knows that's why this team is what it is. It's because you have the stars and you play off of those stars. So by default, you're not as prepared to play as a team because you put these stars together to play off of the stars and to let them shine and do their thing, especially when you have Durant and Irving, who all they want to do or can do is get into their bag and wow you offensively, but if the shots aren't falling, they're in big trouble. The other thing is, Blake Griffin, everybody he mentioned, how many guys have been through playoff experiences and this and that. Yeah, that's called being old, okay? So you guys are old. The Celtics are hungry. They're up and coming.
Don't go the ages. You're doing ages and
you just brought up LaMarcus Aldridge, Blake Griffin. Blake Griffin that guy is old. He's over there. They were talking about it on the broadcast. His athleticism isn't what it used to be, but he's really fighting. How many times did Mike Breen say he was gassed? They're old.
Well, that's because he hasn't been in the game. I would be gassed, too, if you haven't been there in 5 weeks.
Durant's getting injured. Durant had to play a lot of minutes down the stretch to get them back into playoff contention. He's older.
The reason why the Nets lost last night is because of Kyrie Irving. 6 for 17 from the field, 0 for 7 for 3. So, yeah, Blake Griffin probably said, Kyrie sucks. And Kyrie gave him the 4 famous words, like after the postgame after game 1. I'm kidding. Let's go to Charles in Connecticut. Thanks for calling KJ and Dondero. You're on the air.
Great show, guys, and that Blake Griffin clip was phenomenal. And you just said what I was about to say. Even Durant, these guys that were one and done out of college and have played on playoff teams, they've played a lot of games. And, Durant's a skinny little thing. LeBron James is starting to break down, but LeBron James is a man. I mean, he's built. But
Mark, he's old. Right. LeBron's old, Mark.
NBA terms, he's old.
Andre Drummond was starting for them last night. He's old. You go down their whole lineup. Griffin was done years ago, and the Clippers dumped his contract. The Celtics take Al Horford off the roster, and I think Marcus Smart is your next oldest player. And that is the difference. And that team is gassed, and they took them everything they had to be 6 points down, and then the Celtics just blew them out. It's kind of fun to watch. It's also, and I've been a big hater of Jason Tatum over the last couple of years. He has definitely changed the game, and I really think Udoka is really responsible for him changing his game. where I think Brad Stevens would just let it be the Tatum show. And I think he's reeled him in as a player, and it's showing. And because he doesn't have to do everything on the court, he can be a kick-butt defender, and he's showing it. So I'm excited about this team.
I'm excited about your call, Charles. I'm like ready to play game 4. Like, what are we doing at 2 today? Thanks for the call, man. He's absolutely right, man. Absolutely right, Mark.
Yeah.
But but okay, if you're going to make the argument about old, Al Horford technically is old, but are you seeing old out there?
Yeah, but the culture of Al Horford.
No, so it's about your will, right? And the will of the Nets is dead. They're dead. Dead.
They are.
So when Blake Griffin gets in there, how effective are you going to be, balling in a graveyard? That's what it is.
Look, Durant is older, so he's their guy. And by default, with the way you sign guys to supplement your stars, you created an older culture. That's just the facts. Okay?
Yeah, so call it more like win now. Like there's no learning curve. Right? There's just no learning. When you have a team like that, you do not have a whole lot of room for coaching. You expect these guys to know what they're supposed to do. That's why you put Steve Nash, a.k.a. Mannequin, in there.
Yeah.
Because, who has he led to what as a coach?
Nothing. But this is what I was saying before this. Are you all right? Jeez.
Oh, my gosh,
Before this series started, I think too many people, especially nationally, weren't acknowledging that the Celtics were on the same level, and their stars were on the same level as the Nets stars. It was still viewed as, the up-and-coming Celtics, are they ready for this moment? No. This is a situation where you have the stars of Brooklyn trying like hell to beat back these up-and-coming people who are going to take over the league in Tatum and Brown and stuff like that. They're trying to save their, status here in the league because
they're trying to find their fountain of youth.
The new wave is coming, and this isn't like other businesses where you can suppress talent that's coming up, because you have some stature. This is the ultimate meritocracy, and if you are, if it's your time in professional sports and you're good enough, you can go out there and take it. And that is what Tatum and Brown are doing. This isn't some other business where, people in control can they can dictate what's going on, and people that want to come up, they can get suppressed and all this. This isn't that. It's my time. I'm going to take it. And I think that's what Tatum and Brown are doing.
Their window is now for these young guys that are on this team.
This is KJ and Dondero on WEEI. Join the conversation, 617-779-7937. Text line 37937. We'll go through some of your text messages. Plus, we've got to talk about what happened last night with the Red Sox in Tampa. That was just absolute craziness to watch. And what's going to happen draft day? We got wall-to-wall coverage here on WEEI this Thursday. But what do the Pats do? Hang out. KJ and Dondero continues next here on WEEI.